Okay, we're back with the Singer 503A twin needle sewing, testing, stitch testing. And before I set up the tripod and started sewing, I was just going to try and give you a closer look at the tension, how the thread is in between two different discs. So the blue thread is in between disc 1 and 2, and the pink thread is in between discs 2 and 3. They both go through the automatic thread guide there, but there is a little center post in that, and the pink thread is going between the part closest to the machine and the next post, and then the blue part is in the center slot. And then I'll give you a shot of how that twin needle looks in there. Just a business card behind it so you can get a better view. And the needles just go in side by side with you just have to be sure that they go all the way up and that they're very tight when you tighten the thumb screw. And then you bring up the bobbin thread the same as you do with a single needle. And you can just hold on to both threads as you turn the hand wheel towards you and bring up that bobbin thread, because you still only have one bobbin thread. So that's a look at the upper threading setup. And then we'll get this set up and do some stitching. Alright. So we're set up to sew with a twin needle, straight stitch, and the presser foot pressure is 4. The upper tension is about 3.5, the same as a single needle. I'm going to do a number 6 stitch, the long one, and we'll run it along here. I'll back tack, and there we go. I'll pull this out so that you can see the stitch. Pink is on the top. The pink is on the left needle, and this is what the back looks like. Looks like a zigzag because there is just one bobbin thread. I'll put it back in here, and I'm going to sew again part way with the needle in the center position. If I get it off reverse. Now, whenever you change the needle position or stitch width, the needle has to be out of the fabric so that it doesn't hang up. And I'm going to change it now and put the needle in the left position. Right? I think I need a little slack in the thread even to get it over there. There we go. That's better. Center, left. Let's continue on sewing. Just kind of I was hoping it would show more of a zigzag, a jog over. Let's try it again here. Get myself in the center position. come up in place and go to the left. So I'm going to take the tension off. That's where we're. There we go. Now we're in the left. So you can see when I changed it, this part was center, this part was left. It moved the pink left needle over farther to the left and the blue right needle into the center position of the presser foot. And again, it's still going to have all the zigzagging on the back here. So some reasons that you might want to use a double stitch is a twin needle or double needle stitch is for decorative, especially when you get into the decorative cams, but also for strength and reinforcement. See, if you're going to sew a seam, especially on your heavier fabrics, any denims and duck cloth and canvas and upholstery stuff, things for camping and hiking and go bags and so forth, the double stitching is just going to be stronger. And you can make flat felled seams with the twin needle in either straight or zigzag. So let's do one in straight stitch, even though my stitching isn't that straight. If you take that first seam you did, you fold it over to make a flat felled seam, and let me get a little closer to the edge here. Then you sew along that. Of course, you're going to have a lot stronger seams. And we can do that same thing in a zigzag. And almost everything that I sewed before with the single needle, you can sew in the double needle. This is the drapery materials. And let's get it under there. We can sew a double seam. And you don't have to do number 6. You can do any sizes that you want. I think I'll put this back in the center position. And let's do number 12 length. So it's a little bit finer stitch. So the same pretty stitching that you got in single needle, you can achieve in the double needle or twin needle. Let's see. Here's a piece of white denim. Maybe I can make a better felled seam because that's a kind of a heavier fabric that you would maybe want a double or twin needle seam in. See if I can sew it a little straighter this time. I'm just going to make it a little bit longer here because the heavier the fabric, the longer the stitch should be. So that came out good. We'll get this up and fold it over for a felled seam. And I'll try and run the other seam a lot closer to the felled edge here. I'll use the foot as the guide for the edge of the fabric this time, see if I can get that even a little closer. I still want this edge to be on top of that right part of the feed dog, so let's try this. So this seam turned out very sturdy, very strong. You can see just by doing the twin needle straight how much stronger it is. And you can do a seam like this with the zigzag, which I'll be showing in a later video. If you watched my other video, you may remember this test I did with the straight stitch, where it was a multi-layer, kind of like if you're quilting something, fleece with wrapped in layers of a medium upholstery, wrapped in layers of that medium line drapery with a hem here. And just like we did with the single needle, the double needle can sew that. So if you'd like to do that, we come down to about a 12, yeah, about a 12 I think, if it was quilting. Gonna have to give it a little help penetrating. There we go. And you see it went even through the double over there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 layers of fabric there. Right there's a nice, just like that pretty straight stitch, the twin needle or double needle will stitch the same way. And how you would do crafting with the machine in single, you can do in double. Nylon strap, and if you wanted to put a connector or D-ring or both, instead of doing a single needle, you can do double, in straight or zigzag. And you would set the machine up the same way. For something this, I would use about enough room there. I would use about a number 6 or 8. Let's do an 8 here, and we'll slowly run this over to the edge. And since it's such a short distance, what if we just went back tack all the way instead of lifting it and turning the needle, turning the material like that. Back it up a little. You could sew at the angle. to this point and lift it, set it to reverse, back it up to there, set it for the other angle, go forward, and then finally you could reverse it across the bottom of the seam there. Bring it back forward. So for having the second needle and some extra thread, to me it's going to make that twice as strong there. And usually I would do this, or have seen it done in straight stitch like this, where you might want to use a zigzag if it's something more flexible. So there's some other ways to go with twin needle straight stitch example. So I think in the next video I'm going to do some zigzag stitching on this media. I did try the leather. Let's see if I have that around still. I thought I'd try a little piece of that leather, but I could not get the double needle to penetrate that. Oh, I did it this time. Okay, let's just try it for the heck of it. I've never tried this before, so we'll just see what happens. Okay, once it gets going, it went. How about that? When you double needle sew, you know, when you're single needle sewing, you always want to let the feed dogs guide the fabric, because if you push it or pull it, you have a chance of bending the needle and breaking the thread, or bending or breaking the needle. And it's still the same with a double needle. This was interesting to see that it could do the double. Wasn't sure. And this is, by the way, these are two standard sharp point number 14 needles. Most of the literature I've read in Singer's instruction manual say use the same size of needle from 9 up to 14, but I did it once with a 16, no problem, twin 16 jeans needles, and twin 14 leather needles, which is probably would have gone a lot easier with this, because the leather needle having that little knife point would have penetrated this better. So you got a little, skipped one of the stitches right there. I think I was kind of force feeding it through there, but I was surprised even with a standard needle that it could penetrate that. So good for you, Singer 503. So next time I'm going to do a zigzag, and I'll tell you the limitations and some of the settings for that. So I hope you'll come back for, I guess, what would be part 3 of the twin needle testing. Thanks for watching.